Welcome to the sharp key signature video. So as you know by now, C major is the only key in which we have all natural notes. That's because the half steps between mi and fa and ti and do line up perfectly with the half steps between E and F and B and C. No black key between B and C, no black key between E and F. Well, and you also know that there's a pattern to the whole steps and half steps. Do, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So 2 wholes and a half and 3 wholes and a half. Well, today I'm going to show you something very interesting about the major scale that creates a very useful pattern and frankly organizes all of our music in a very deep and profound level. So much so that it boggles the mind to think about it. This is very cool. So if you look carefully at this pattern, it doesn't look quite balanced. But if you look at it a different way, you can imagine it as 2 separate groups of 4 notes. Do, re, mi, fa, which is do, whole step, half step, and sol, la, ti, do, so, whole step, half step. And what this means is that if you were to say start on the note G, so G, A, B, C, you could imagine that that could be sol, la, ti, do. But just as easily, it could be do, re, mi, fa in this key of G major, where G is do. That's because the pattern is exactly the same. And in fact, that's part of what makes the G major scale almost exactly the same as the C major. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. But one note needs to change. The one right before the G has to move up, the F has to move up to be a half step away from the G, just like T is a half step away from do. So in the key of G major, we must have an F sharp to create that T-do relationship. That means that every F must be sharp in the key of G major. So let's change them all on my scale here. And we can list that in the key of G major, F is always sharp. To save ourselves the time and hassle of having to write out F sharp every single time it occurs in the music, we just write an F sharp at the beginning of each line of music. We draw a sharp on the F line, and that means that all Fs everywhere in the music will of course be sharp because G is do. But the pattern can go on and on forever. If we continued on G major, do, re, mi, fa, sol, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that same pattern, we would start on D. If D was do, let's start down on this lower D so we don't run out of room. Do, re, mi, fa. See, the F sharp makes the mi, fa work out. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. One note's wrong again. Of course, it is the one right before do. It is the C that needs to go up to C sharp in order to make the half step from T to do. So every time you go up 5 notes from do, you can start a new scale, adding just 1 sharp at T to do, and you will have your new do. So in D major, all C's are sharp. We would raise this C up, we would raise this C up, and so in D major you keep the F from G, F sharp I should say, and you add a C sharp. This pattern of going up a 5th from the starting do to your new do to find a new key that has all the same notes except for 1 added sharp to create the T to do relationship. This pattern is called the circle of fifths. Musicians make a very big deal out of it. It occurs in a lot of places, so just remember, the circle of fifths. When we go to write our key signature, that means what notes are sharp at the beginning of our piece of music, at the beginning of every line, I should say, we always write them in the order that they appear in the circle of fifths. So the first note to be sharped is F sharp for G major. In D major, it's got F sharp, so we write that first, and C sharp. What I want you to figure out is what notes are sharp in the keys of G, D, A, E, and B. Now, I've already done a couple of them here for you. I want you to write out those notes, which notes are sharp, and then I want you to write them in the correct key signature. That means the order has to be correct. You write which note is sharp and in the order that they occur in the circle of fifths. After we have learned all of these sharp keys, we're going to spend a little bit of time in class memorizing those. But then I'm going to just assign you to memorize which keys are sharp. I hate memorizing and I hate tests, but the truth is there's only 12 different keys altogether, and you don't even have to memorize all of them, just the most common ones. So it's not a lot to memorize. There's also some great applications and games out there that you can buy on the internet that can help you practice this. Now, finally, I'd like you to make a plan with your private lesson teacher to learn all the most common keys on your instrument and get very fluid playing them up and down. This is a great way to work on your technique. It's a great way to get better at sight reading because you know your fingers will know exactly which notes to play. It's great for your improvising if you start to play different styles of music that have improvisation. It even helps with your composition skills. Knowing your scales is a great way to get better as a musician. All right, that's it for now, and we'll see you next week.